What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. On this episode, I am joined by Nick Chewy Albin, and we discuss his Fight to Win Pro 29 victory, starting seminars and a little more traveling and also competing. And I also have one of my training partners and guys I've been working with, Chris Dukes. Chris is a purple belt under Chewy as well. And he is one of the guys that I've been kind of working with in my videos. He's just coming back from a knee injury, a lateral meniscectomy, so where he had some surgery on his knee. We kind of go over his recovery, how he's gotten back to training and what he's done to kind of make himself feel better and stay healthy. And also we kind of discuss some of those things with Chewy, how he's come back from injury as well, and how he has been able to stay injury-free and train and be consistent on the mats and still stay sharp. And that's it, guys. So thank you all for checking out the podcast. Hope you enjoy it. We had a great time hanging out and talking, and thanks.
You are now listening to the Jiu-Jitsu Therapist Podcast.
Oh, there it is. Right on the page.
Look at that paperclip.
Look at my paperclip.
My, is that gold?
Yeah, it's real gold.
Real gold.
Jew gold, baby.
Jew gold.
Wow.
Wish I was Jewish and had money.
You do have money. You're famous.
Infamous.
There's rich and famous. I'm not neither one of either.
What are you? Let me look at my notes, bro.
Moderately notable.
Chewy, if you had to say how, if you had to give yourself a grade on how famous you are, like an A, like so jiu-jitsu celebrity wise.
So like what?
So like an A celebrity would be like.
What's an F?
I don't know.
I think from a legal perspective, you're a public figure now.
You are.
Shut up.
You could run for office.
Don't bring that legal jargon into it.
Public
figure.
So where would you rate yourself as a
Like a C.
like a C?
C.
C celebrity?
C celebrity.
But you get noticed at all the tournaments.
That's okay. I think it's like a C.
So what would be an A celebrity?
Like Marcel Garcia.
Marcel Garcia.
He's
is
an A
for sure.
I mean, he's
the
a-
Gracies, bunch of the Gracies.
Yeah, exactly. Those are A's.
So what's a B?
I don't know.
What's a step above you?
I don't know.
Who do you
Someone
think?
else.
Who do you think it would be? Like DJ Jackson type person. Everybody fucking knows.
DJ Jackson, Kurt Sanders probably.
Kurt Sanders a B?
He's a B or A.
Oh man,
I mean,
I'd say he's an A.
he's a B plus.
He's an A. Yeah,
A minus.
he's really notable. Yeah,
He is. Everybody knows.
Yeah, so he knows. I don't know, man.
You're not in it for the fame, though.
I don't know. I just started doing it.
Are you in it for the girls?
Totally. Jess, don't tell Jess.
Yeah.
Cut my nuts off.
She'll never hear this.
You don't have nuts anymore.
She does. She listens to.
Does she listen to him?
Oh, she does. She does every time that comes out. She'll
Oh, my God.
she'll be in the bedroom. She'll be like, "Oh, have you listened to it yet?" You
Does
know?
she get excited about it? Honestly.
Well, she likes whatever, like any of this, the stuff the guys put out. Like she watches everyone's videos and watches all the.
She likes them all.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice. Good sport.
she is. She's wonderfully supportive. And I'm not doing this for the girls.
How do you? How is it? Honestly, just if you're traveling more now, is it like? I mean,
by traveling more, I've done one seminar and I have another this weekend. So it's like that's like I
Life on the road.
Yeah, it's like I'm a worldly traveler now. Like,
No.
I mean, I had 2 seminars.
well, no. I mean, you travel and do like.
But I'm always traveling because it'd be like, oh, I'm going to go to, instead of doing a seminar, it was a tournament.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you like tournaments. I mean,
the only difference is it's like you get to like meet some different people and stuff like that. But I mean, it's honestly, I don't, that's about it. It's still the same as like going to we're going to Atlanta to compete.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to Georgia or I'm going to Georgia instead of competing this time. I'm going to go down there and teach some techniques.
Yeah.
But still travel.
How was it competing in a Fight to Win?
It's fun. It's a good time.
What do you think was different? Anything different about it?
Yeah, it was like a mixed martial arts fight. It was like because you had the I am going to get ready to compete at like you kind of had the lineup, and instead of being like I don't know who I'm going to compete against, you know the guy's name, you've probably seen him a little bit beforehand, and you're just waiting until it's your turn to step up to the plate, And so that was a lot like mixed martial arts, but it didn't have any of the douchebaggery. Like everybody was cool, and then everybody was hanging out.
Guys.
Yeah, it was jiu-jitsu guys. So like everybody, like when we're at the weigh-ins, like everybody's like shaking hands, smiling, and whatever. And then like the only people that were really getting really serious were like the little kids. They'd get up there and they'd watching UFC weigh-ins. They were getting up and like flexing their stomach muscles and like doing the double bicep
That's
pose.
awesome.
And but all the other dudes were just like, yeah, cool, man, And
Have you seen that guy before? That you? I don't know.
He grappled Chad at the Kumite.
Oh, big dude.
Yeah. So he grappled Chad at the Kumite, the brown belt. and Chad caught him with a triangle.
Is that the guy before Chad hurt his
Yeah. And so, it's just...
It's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big, strong dude, and, he was... he's a brown belt, willing to take the match, you know what I mean? Because I think there was some trouble finding an opponent down there just in that regional area.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were just like, yeah, he'll do it. So he stepped at the plate to do it,
As a spectator, I thought it was really a cool production.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I mean, I was so pumped, so excited. We were right there, fucking hitting the mats, smacking the mats, and I ruined Chewy's...
Felt like you were part of it, yeah.
I ruined Chewy's picture, his victory picture.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Oh, God.
Really? The guy with the podcast ruined...
Sorry, Batman called. It's my wife.
You better take that.
Nah.
But no,
she knows.
I thought it was cool because you had the picture, and so you're sort of like in front of the picture, me getting my hand raised. I thought it was kind of cool because you're kind of like blacked out, and just like the silhouette of your arms being raised, and then you see the lights on the front when me get my hand raised. I thought it was a cool picture.
It was fucking awesome, dude. I had so much fun. I left and I was like, dude, I would love to do that. I think it would be so I don't know. It should be fun.
Well, it is fun, and it's really cool to be able to have an event like that, and that's why if anybody's listening to this, you should go out, and if there is an event like that, because there are several. There's Fight to Win, Zapatero, I don't know if I'm messing up the name, all the Eddie Bravo Invitationals, all these matches, go out and support those things, because again, I think everyone would like the opportunity at some point to compete a show like that, but the only way that happens is if people friggin' open up their wallets and go pay for it.
Right. Do you think people get after it more? I mean, because it's one match. Like, I think people kind of...
I thought the rule set were good because, the rules were, the one thing that, because there's this, there's a big, argument online where it's saying, okay, point tournaments are boring, submission-only tournaments are more exciting, whatever. But really, to me, it comes down to mostly the competitors. But even some of the Eddie Bravo matches, I think it was the heavyweights matches that we watched, no one did anything for the first 10 minutes, and they waited till the overtime to really come out. And with this one, there was no overtime round. So basically, you had 8 minutes for whatever the time duration was, and then a decision was going to be made. So to me, that sort of incentivized really fighting for position more during the actual time limit, because a lot of times when there's just a submission only and an overtime, guys don't really fight for the positioning. You watch them at Morris events, if they didn't fight for positioning, they just give it up.
I know, I didn't like that.
Yeah, exactly. So in a lot of times when you think about when you train, a lot of times the matches are kind of decided in some of those transitions, because if they're really fighting hard to not give up something, that's when an arm might open up. There's my attack. You catch on transition.
Right.
A lot of times if you're trying to submit a pretty skilled opponent who's just shelling up, it's really tough. Yeah. But you catch them when they're moving out of stuff. And so because of that time limit where there's a decision that's going to be made, people had to fight. And so I didn't see a boring match that whole night.
I tell you what, you brought up the kids earlier. And I was so impressed with the kids.
Oh, man.
I mean, they were going for it. They were fearless.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a regular
awesome.
Jiu-Jitsu tournament where you're kind of, 6 mats running and you're all blended in. The whole place was watching these kids, and they stepped up and fearless.
Could you imagine being 5 or 6 or 7, whatever those kids were? They were young. Some of those kids were young, 7, 8 years old. And then having these lights shine on you and having this music blaring, and you're literally like these kids have probably watched pro wrestling or watched these big matches, and they're literally living that. You know what I mean? What would have it been like to you as a kid? I grew up watching pro wrestling.
Right.
I couldn't imagine having some sort of miniature stage where I'm walking out and there's fans screaming my name and I have a match with my buddy or something. You know what I mean? That's wild to think about going through that as a young kid.
And their jiu-jitsu was so
it was good.
Yeah. And as an older guy sitting there watching that, you have to think 10 years from now what the scene's going to be like.
It's going to be different.
It's going to be a different
So
world.
different. Yeah, go ahead.
Those kids that can handle that type of pressure and to perform at that age, that's going to serve them well throughout life.
Absolutely. No, that's one of the sort of the side benefits you get through the jiu-jitsu or grappling sports or even combat sports.
Right.
When you get really tested with a nasty situation and you just got to suck it up and do it. That's a nice little thing that crosses over to a lot of stuff in life.
Yeah. What did you think of? And this was kind of to me they allowed slams, and I was like, oh, I liked it. But I really fucking liked it because you can't sell out on a triangle choke. You better fucking control legs. You better, control posture. You can't just let somebody pick you up because you could honestly get knocked out.
Yeah. Now the thing was with that is they luckily those mats where they have the spring. Yeah, so they like sprinkle it down. Like obviously you can still knock someone out if you got them lifted high enough, but because they sprung down, if you didn't lift them, if you just try to slam them, you're just gonna make it worse. Which actually happened in one of the matches where he picked him up and he didn't slam him. He didn't lift him and then go down. He just like kind of picked him up and dumped him a little bit, and it was cool. Made it like the noise, but it wasn't very effective and got him caught in a deeper triangle.
Yeah. I like that, though, and I think it just adds a different element.
It keeps you honest.
Yeah, it makes it more, realistic, honestly. Jiu-Jitsu's, technically self-defense.
I just did a video on this morning.
Let me tell you this. Did you put it out yet?
No, it'll be on at 6 o'clock.
So check this out. So I've been, on Reddit and shit.
Sure.
And, so you hear a ton of these white belts or blue belts or even, purple belts are like, oh man, I don't know if I could win in a street fight with somebody that's a little stronger or more. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like you should.
They don't know.
You should be able to, for example, not a lot of people like rubber guard or whatever. Some people don't play rubber guard because of flexibility issues. But rubber guard actually, as far as Eddie Bravo developed it, was it was for MMA kind of because he wanted to close the posture, close the distance, and so I think that's actually, so you got to think of those elements. You can't create all kinds of space. You're not going to be bare bowling somebody on the street unless you can do it fairly quickly and move into something.
Here's the thing about if you want to talk about because I just did a video on this. And it was mainly talking about because this guy asked me, he's like, he wanted to do Japanese Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, which one's better for self-defense?
Okay, what's the difference? First of all?
Well, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu basically is, if you look at actually a history lesson real quick, I'll keep it short. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a derivative of Judo. Judo is a derivative of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. Judo was created from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu because they wanted to make it more effective, efficient, and make it sort of more people could train it. Japanese Jiu-Jitsu includes a lot of small joint locks, strikes, eye gouges, lots of nasty stuff, right? And you can't practice that stuff live, right? You can't practice it at a fast pace. So they were like, let's get rid of this stuff and let's focus on the things that we can do live and practice at a fast pace. And then what we can do is we can always add those back in. Okay. Right? Because if you have complete control of a person's body, it doesn't take a friggin' rocket doctor to friggin' punch someone in the face or elbow them, right? And so this is where, and then Judo obviously focuses on throws, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu focuses mostly on ground. But one of the, and this is true about all combat sports, like Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, all this stuff. They all include something that I think is more important for self-defense that has nothing to do with the actual techniques. Because you can take the techniques, there's techniques that transcend the actual, martial art, and yet in one martial art, like Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, they're not effective. But then you go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and they're really effective. And it's the training methodology. You practice under live conditions all the time. Okay. Because, people can say what they want to, a fight's not there's not choreographed. It doesn't have a rhythmic pattern. It's chaotic. It's you don't know what's going to happen. It's intense. It's scary. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things, because sport jiu-jitsu gets such a bad rap, but if you want to talk about reality, people practicing self-defense techniques in a nice, controlled, slow manner, that's not reality. That's called theory, right? You think this is the way that it's going to work. But then when you go into a situation where you have a person that wants to rip your friggin' head off and they want to choke you as fast as possible, and they want to slam you to the ground, and they want to do all this stuff, that's absolutely real. That's 100% real. And that ability to deal with that kind of stress is going to be, to me, more applicable to a street fight or a self-defense situation than having all the quote-unquote self-defense techniques if you're not training them in live conditions.
Makes sense.
And so, all these guys, a lot of the guys that are in jiu-jitsu, they've just never been in fights. I mean, let's be honest. You see some of these guys that go to these really nice jiu-jitsu gyms, right? Those dudes aren't fighting anybody on the street, man. They're guys that live in these nice houses and they're in the nice part of town. They're not fighting anybody, dude.
Hey,
I'm saying, but you're a realistic guy. I mean, these guys that are practicing for this theoretical confrontation that's going to happen. It's bro, you live in this nice part of town. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but you guys have never even been in a fight before. I've been in plenty of fights when I was younger, and and I used to bounce with Mike, and we used to get in plenty of scraps back in the day. And you see what happens in a real fight situation, right. And you realize so what it really, to me, comes down to is a lot of these people sell this fight thing, but it's a marketing ploy where it's an influencing tactic where you say it's us against them, you're over here, and we do the self-defense, we do the real stuff, you're doing the sports stuff. But to me, there's nothing more real than really going after someone 100%.
Yeah.
I went all over the place. I don't even know where that was.
Chris, it brings me up a really good point. I remember, one of my favorite classes that we did, was when we did like a little bit of like...
Oh, the Wednesday you put the gloves on?
Put the gloves on and did some positions defending and stuff. I thought that was fucking super beneficial. To me, like closing the distance and stuff and just protecting yourself.
Yeah, you know.
No more punches coming.
Exactly. From, you got a guy in your guard that's going to punch you.
Yeah.
You're going to react differently than you would, on a Thursday rolling session.
Yeah, we're not going to like, I'm going to daintily go for this underhook. No, you're going to
You're going to get him close.
Get him close as hell, and you're going to
try to get an angle.
Tuck your chin and all that stuff. Yeah, well, remember Chewy told me this funny story when I guess they were doing like, I don't know if they were doing.
Yeah, everybody had small gloves on.
It was the day you got like into it with somebody.
No, I didn't get into it.
And you're like a fucking... All right, so Chris... Let me get background on Chris. Chris is... if you've seen... Chris is just recovering from knee surgery a couple months ago. We had some videos. He's my star in my videos. He's had a great recovery, actually. But he's back training and stuff. But Chris... when did you start jiu-jitsu? Like, later in life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was 40 years old.
So 40 years old, and you're a freaking lawyer.
Yeah.
So you sit around and drink nice bourbon and read and put people in prisons and stuff, right?
Nothing like that.
No,
but okay.
But but like it's weird, like because me and you got into it. We talked about like, you're not. I don't think you've gotten in a lot of fights or anything. You're not a confrontational. You're not a confrontational guy.
I think everybody would say I'm pretty even keeled.
Pretty laid back. But
I did, by way of background, if you want to bring up my background, I kind of grew up in a rural part of the state, and before I went to college, I worked in the coal mining industry. So, I don't think I'm not quite a yuppie.
He used to be a yuppie.
Yeah, but anyway, to your earlier question, I didn't get into it with anyone, but we had this, kind of introducing strikes into our jiu-jitsu game, and everybody had small gloves on, so you started standing, of course. And, the only kind of rules of engagement were, no haymakers. You've got small gloves on. And one of the boxers had come over to kind of figure out how his stand-up worked with the ground game. And, I've not done a ton of striking.
Right.
But I got a pretty good jab. And in just instinct, I took the guy down. And that, it wasn't really getting into it.
But didn't he...
I just came back. You talking about the big guy?
Yeah.
That was good.
Didn't you get clipped, though? Like, or somebody
That was a real jab.
No, somebody hit you, though.
Yeah. I hit
Yeah, he hit you.
But off the jab, my instinct was...
You just took his ass down.
Took him down.
Yeah. His head went boop, and then he was like... You saw his brow furrow, and he like immediately charged forward, took the guy down. That was cool because... And I'm sorry I was gone. That was cool because I was like, oh, look... It's jiu-jitsu. A little bit of wrestling and more jiu-jitsu. It's like, works just fine. Because that dude was like straight up like, nothing bad about the guy. He's just straight up like, dude's like, man, I want to come here and like fight.
Was that one of those dudes?
Yeah, so he was over boxing and he never done any jiu-jitsu. And so like, it was a very clear example of like, here's what would happen if you fought a dude who doesn't know a whole lot but knows how to throw a punch.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, and again, that just goes back to, I don't know what you guys were talking about a second ago, but it's like, people overestimate what a untrained opponent can do.
Yeah.
Like, if you're talking about hand-to-hand. I'm not talking about weapons.
Well, you kind of see it as new people roll into the gym. We've all seen a lot of guys that visually are intimidating. Maybe they're big, strong, muscular, but they're white belts or they're brand new to the game. And that's how you can see how jiu-jitsu pairs up with somebody that doesn't know jiu-jitsu.
It's like somebody's fucking can't swim and is in the ocean with sharks. I mean, that's the example everybody uses all the time, but it's like... And then there's an argument, I've got into this before, about, well, gi or no gi. Well, unless you're fighting a bro who takes his shirt off and he's got his little, whatever the fucking tattoo they have.
Barbed wire.
Barbed wire, Pamela Anderson. Unless that's the case, they're mostly going to have shirt on, collar. So, I think gi is very applicable.
They're both applicable.
I know that. Yeah,
I mean, you can choke someone with a damn t-shirt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's just when we do that suit rolling, it was a good example. It's like, oh, this is really neat. I can learn how to use this clothing, and it's more effective to use this stuff than they think. See, what this is all going back to, though, I touched on it earlier, is when you have a crowded market, right? Back in the day, there was no such, like, the training was basically the same too, but there was no such, like, differentiation between all these different groups. But in order to stand out, you have to separate yourself from the herd. So you say, okay, there's this big pool of jiu-jitsu. Well, an influencing tactic would be to say, like, no, we're not doing your jiu-jitsu. We're doing self-defense. We're doing pure jiu-jitsu, because that's one of the things, right? We're doing the pure jiu-jitsu that was the way that it was designed to do. And these guys are like, oh, well, you suck because we're doing the jiu-jitsu that's effective. We're doing sport jiu-jitsu, which really gets after it. And then there's the guys like, oh, well, we do it for mixed martial arts. Oh, that gi thing, the gi's so unrealistic. We do it for no gi because that's more realistic. Everybody's just trying to separate themselves so they can stand out and create a following. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you understand that, then you understand it's all bullshit, and you just say, look, I'm going to do it all,
right?
And I'll just figure out what I want to do. You know what I mean? Because, again, where do you want to go with this? It's your choice. You know what I mean? You figure out, so you don't want to buy into someone's dogma wholesale. You say, like, I'll take your ideas. I'll chew on them, make my own sort of idea on this whole thing as it pertains to me personally. Instead of just people hear, like, a person say something, oh, yep, that's it. I'll just take their opinion and I'll just take it as my own.
Well, that's what I think kind of bothers people. For example, going back to Eddie Bravo, he's like, well, we don't do gi at all. Because it's not, well, that's not true. I mean, it's not fucking true.
It's not applicable for, like, a mixed martial arts fight necessarily, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it, and it's like, for me, like, why not? It's just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends on, I guess, whatever you're training for. I mean, obviously, if you're training for an MMA fight, you're going to...
But here's the thing. Maybe you don't even want to do the gi because you just don't want to do it. Well, fine. Don't do it. That's cool.
I love the gi, but I think, to me, it's, it can be a disadvantage because I'm so... I do more gi than no gi, obviously, just because it's just the way my schedule allows, and I feel like I like gi better because I feel like I'm better at it. Because I'm not thinking, because I have grips, and I rely on those grips, and so it's really, for me, there's certain things I want to work on, and I want to get better at no gi, because, I mean, whether it's wrestling or whatever, I need to get better at some of those things. I think it would make my gi jiu-jitsu better, obviously.
It will, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Adam's doing. You know, we have a guy in the gym that has great guard passing, great grips. I mean, he's known for having really, really good grips. And he came to a no-gi class and I was getting ready for that fight to win match. And he felt really off.
Yep.
He was like, this sucks. And so ever since then, he's been coming to the Wednesday no-gi classes.
Yep.
Because he's like, I need to work my no-gi game.
That's what I freaking neglected that. And I think, one of the worst days, not the worst days, but I got beat up, like Chad beat the shit out of me. I mean, Chad beats the shit out of me anyways, but it was no-gi. And I was like, God damn. Like, I mean, Chad always gives me, obviously, a hard roll, but he was really I think he was having a good day, too. He told me that.
Yeah.
God, it was off. It was awful for me. I left, and I was like, oh my God, dude, what just happened?
That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. I mean,
I know.
There's always going to be somebody that's going to give you a rough time.
Oh, yeah, man. And it's funny. It's like I'm glutton for punishment. I don't always look for Chad on the map, but if he's there and nobody's there, I won't hesitate to roll with him. I just think I always learn something.
Chewy may disagree, but I think one of the things that's kind of a prerequisite for sticking with this is you kind of have to not necessarily enjoy it, but get motivation out of the bad days.
Oh, I agree with that.
How do you do that? I've done that before, I guess, but...
I don't really mind the bad days.
Really?
I'm kind of grateful to be doing it. Having spent some time off the mat lately kind of...
That makes sense.
Fresh to your mind, but,
Perspective's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentally, more than anything, it's mental. Like, to me, like, I beat the shit out of myself mentally.
Well, at some point in playing jiu-jitsu, it becomes a lot mental because, you got the base, and then it becomes a lot more social aspect to what keeps you coming back around, I think. But,
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of, awesome. For me, it's hard some days, like, to have it can ruin the rest of my day if I have a bad day of jiu-jitsu.
You're still young and competitive. See, I'm like an old guy, and
you're competitive as hell.
But at the same time, I'm starting to have that recognition that at some point, it's really not going to be. I'm not going to be doing this to maintain. I'm not ever going to be an
Somebody's
adult.
Deep breathing over there. Is that Billy doing his fucking what's he? Do y'all hear that?
Oh my goodness!
He's like doing his like stomach. Is somebody having... Oh, my God. I'm going to have to cut this out. I'll leave it in there.
I was going to make such a great thought.
Chris is right, though, man. Like, I mean, like, you know, that's where, like, I get those questions all the time. Right. And, like, people are always bummed out because they had a rough day or because they're not getting good or whatever. And I was there. But, like, when you realize it's your own bullshit, like, I mean, it's not helping you. Right? Like, I mean, like you getting down on yourself, does that help you? It doesn't help you because it makes you all pissy, and then you can't even think about things correctly because you're too pissy about it. When you sit back and you're like, what I like, look at it objectively. Okay, what did I fuck up? All right, I'll fix this problem. But you know what? Like you're saying, like you take some time off the mat. All you have to do is think about that. Like, remember what it was like to go back to then and say, like, what was it like being off the mat? And then you're quickly like, right, man, I'm glad I went to the training today. That was good. Yeah. I'm glad I was just there. Because, again, then you can go back and, like, you can flip on Facebook and they've got some motivational picture of some dude that's got, like, no legs and he's trying to just do something. And you're like, well, fuck, man. Like, I'm bitching because I got arm barred today. This guy's missing 2 legs and he's out there trying to work out.
He can't even get knee barred. He's got an advantage.
Here you go. You can still loop choke him.
Yeah. Chris, what was it like? Y'all bring up a good point. What was it mentally for you since you've been out? You were out probably, 2 months with a knee. You had a knee, you had a scope, a meniscectomy, so they cleaned out. You had a tear in your meniscus where they cleaned it out surgically, obviously. And
bucket handle tear.
Lateral meniscus. So outside, bucket handle is just a type of tear, and it was one that was bad enough to where it flipped. It would flip in and out of the joint to where it would like make the knee lock or catch.
Correct.
So it was obviously needs to be corrected surgically. So what was it like for you coming back from that, like recovering, like mentally?
Well, to back up, it's the second time I had the inside meniscus done on the same knee, and it was I don't want to say tough because as far as knee injuries go, you're lucky to get that one as opposed to an ACL or something along those lines. And so the recovery is, even at my age, is not 6 months. It's something in the 1 or 2 month range, and you can get back to moving again. So, but I'm kind of a jiu-jitsu junkie. I probably train 4 or 5 times a week on average, sometimes more, and enjoy being around everybody here. And so it's a big part of my life. And so, to be away from that is just hard. But, it is what it is. And I do think, back to the prior point I was going to make, it does make you appreciate when you are here, even on the bad days.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I'm 44 years old, going to be 45 here before too long. And, I'm never going to be an adult world champion. I'm never, going to be that guy. But I really love jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And so I've got to start figuring out what my game's going to look like as I go forward.
So, what did you do different? I mean, obviously, me and you work together more closely. I kind of was like your dad, kind of fucking. Chris, don't do this, don't do that.
Well, I really needed that, actually.
Well, what do you think was? You had a great recovery this time. Obviously, the first time you had a good recovery as well, really quick. You came back a little faster, probably 3-4 weeks or something. Yeah, and you were back on the mats around the same time. But I think you were further along when you got back. A little more controlled environment too. What do you think was the difference between this past surgery you had and the one before, and like what's better, what's been worse, or?
I think it's all been better this time around. I think a thoughtful approach to trying to come back and working with you and not being so much of a gearhead and just coming back and getting back into the game so quick, which I did the time before. Mm-hmm. And just being more thoughtful about it, and I guess everybody's different, but I'm kind of really quick to do what I want to do.
Yeah,
very likely to jump back too quick and risk re-injuring myself.
Do you feel like? I mean, I know a lot of the exercise you kind of breeze through, but do you feel like there is some supplemental work that you feel like will help you long term? Do you feel like there's anything you're going to stick with or do that's going to maybe help prevent injury for your case particularly?
I think, everybody's into mobility now. I think listen to you and Chewy talk about, I think, I'm not sure, but I think what kind of led to my knee injury was probably some instability in other areas, i.e. tight hips, tight hamstrings, and so kind of focusing on that, can maybe prevent an injury, keep me from re-injuring. So just trying to be smart Maybe some yoga.
Maybe. Chewy, and you've had 2 knee injuries we talked about. Or 2 knee surgeries, correct?
2 knee surgeries. I had a third injury, last about 2 years ago.
But you've had, your last surgery was 3 years ago, 2 years ago? I mean,
2014, yeah.
So you've been what have you done different, since you're a little older now, what have you done different as far as injury prevention or preventative stuff? What's worked for you?
Well, see, here's what happened. I got over that knee injury, and I got back, and I did a good rehab, with you, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
But then, I went back to my old habits where I was training all the time, and, I really wasn't taking care of myself. And then it happened with you. It was October 2014, and I remember it because I came in. It was a Friday morning. It was a beautiful Friday morning. I got up early, was reading a book, drinking coffee, was going to the gym, super excited. And then we were warming up, and I did a reverse lunge, and I felt this pinch in my knee, my right knee, my old one, the old knee, right?
Yeah.
Then so the left one was still fine, the one that was most recently operated on. And I was like, fuck, and I couldn't even really finish it. I still tried to teach a class as best I could. And so then I was like, I thought it was maybe something else, and you were like, it's probably a meniscus issue again. And that one actually gave me trouble for around a year.
Okay.
And I had problems with it where it would go away, and it would flare up again, go away, flare up again. And since then, though, it's been fine. And then so something that I do that a lot more now is, one is I don't roll as much. I'll roll like hard some days, but a lot of times I just come in and move a little bit, or I don't roll at all. Like today, I didn't roll at all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to roll at all today. I'm just going to take it easy. I also do a lot of stretching. I stretch about 4 to 5 times a week. Usually it's either done here in the gym at some point or at the house after a shower. I'll take a shower, go out and do some stretching in the living room on a yoga mat. I do some band exercises that helps focus on strengthening some of the imbalances that I have.
Okay.
And so doing all this stuff combined, and then also with my weightlifting, I have an approach where I'm focusing on things like hip extension, and focusing on things like making sure that I have a balance between my push-pull exercises so I don't jack up my shoulders and all these different things. And all that combined has sort of made it to where, I don't feel so bad all the time. That's the biggest thing, is I don't feel bad. Because when I was getting into, getting close to 29, I remember getting really stiff all the time. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
And everybody had told me, you get 30, you feel your body. You just feel it more. And I was like, I guess this is what it is. But now, it's I feel better now than I did when I was 29 because I take more time off. Or I take more time to do the other side. So most people approach training as one part, whereas their approaching trainer is the go, go, go. And sometimes you need to look at the other flip side of that coin, right? What's the other side to it? Well, you got to take care of that freaking machine that you're taking out to the race all the time. If you ran that car around the track and you never refueled it, you never did maintenance on it, what's going to happen? Damn thing's going to break down on you. So every now and then you got to put it and take a pit stop, and you got to change tires, you got to change oil, you got to do all that stuff, and then bring it back out.
What's the so today you didn't roll? What was there anything that did you feel a certain way, or was it just I rolled hard a couple of days and I gave myself a day off?
I trained, I took Monday off a little bit. I trained Monday night, but I took Monday morning off, trained Monday night. No, actually I didn't train Monday. I trained Monday normally. Never mind. Anyway, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I trained. And Wednesday last night was a hard training session.
Okay.
We even yesterday morning we rolled a bunch. Yesterday evening we rolled a bunch. I was like, okay, I need to chill out. I've had 3 days on. I need to chill.
Okay.
And so I'm just taking it easy today. And then I have to go to the seminar this weekend.
Right.
And I know I'm going to be working hard, so I need to prepare for that. But I had 3 consecutive days of training where I was like, I need to rest. So
You just listening to your body, or if you said, okay, here's my typical week, I roll 40% of the time and do mobility work 20%.
A little bit of both. So it's I'll listen to my body. If something starts getting jacked up, I'm just I back off, whatever.
Yeah.
Or I might take off more days because sometimes. See, that's the thing too. Is Joe and I were talking about it. Because Joe, our CrossFit coach, that dude, man, he can do just an outrageous amount of volume with weights and training and stuff like that. But his muscles won't get sore. But the central nervous system still gets taxed, and you'll still get that feeling of being lethargic and being blah, you're just stuck in the mud. And a lot of people try to fight through that,
right?
And they shouldn't. Look, man, back up. You'll get more out of yourself. You'll get more out of your training if you say, "Listen, I'm really jacked up right now. I'm going to rest a little bit." I'm going to go for a walk outside and just enjoy myself, and then I'll come back and the next day I'll be better. But I listen to my body, and then also I just sort of try to be preemptive about it. So I'm constantly stretching, constantly doing all that stuff. Like Jess will say, like, usually I get home, take a shower, and then I'll sit there and start stretching and stuff like that, and then we, we'll go to bed or whatever.
That's so, that's the awareness is it's so intelligent on your end. Like, I think that's the key. A lot of it is because you're not really doing anything different. You're just kind of making modifications to either the intensity or the frequency of doing certain things. So you're just, I think, balancing everything out. Well, I think that's super important.
But people know this. People know they need to people know they need to they don't know exactly the stretches and stuff like that. Like, obviously, you might sit down and say, listen, you need to do this to strengthen your the muscles in your upper shoulders, your back. Right. You need to focus on hip extension, all this stuff. That is said, you could give someone that, and it's so hard for them to actually stick to stretching, stick to corrective exercising, because it's boring.
Yeah, it's not sexy.
It's not fun.
It takes discipline.
It takes discipline. And see, that's the thing. So for me, what I think about is like, sort of like, you got discipline, you got motivation. Motivation is kind of, it's like, the spark. Discipline's the thing keeps going, right? So to sort of get me to spark and to kind of get me going is like, I'll think about what it was like to be injured. And I'm like, man, that fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And then I'll think, okay, so what does that tell me? I need to do this. It's the same reason why I don't eat cake at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Because I'm like, I know if I eat that cake, I'm going to feel like shit. And it's the reason why I'm like, you know what, man? My body's really sore. I'm not going to roll today because I know if I roll, I might jack myself up. And then I'm not going to be able to roll for another week or so because I'm going to possibly tweak something or whatever.
Yeah.
So just about listening and being intelligent and being smart about it and not being so silly, because you got to think about it, like your overall progress. You may be stretching and you might be doing corrective exercising and you may not feel like it's making any progress towards that like goal of being better in jiu-jitsu, but it is, because you're repairing this vehicle that you're going to be using to do that, and people don't think about it that way. They think about it as almost like if it's two separate things, like this is training and this is this bullshit stretching stuff, instead of thinking no, this all the same thing, and just you got the yin and the yang, it's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. And I'm like, with I think if you make videos, for example, if you do videos like this technique for white belts works for this, and then everybody's like, oh my god, this works for white belts, or this works whatever, and then I make a video like on stretching, and it's like, it's not sexy, but to the people that have been injured or are trying to keep injury,
they're like gobbled up.
Yeah, they really like, oh my god, this is great, and I think that's right. If you've been injured, then like, holy shit, I don't want to be there. I'd rather be consistent, training, maybe not training 100%, but, training consistently, and not going, like, what I mean is 100% intensity.
Well, and that's another thing that I think that I learned as I gotten better, or older and better, is like, one is consistency always trumps like short bursts of intensity,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
And then like, man, like you can get so much out of like a less intense round if you do it right. Like even like last night, Chad and I were rolling. We rolled hard. We were rolling hard, yeah. But like when Chad and I got together, we were both attacking leg locks, and both of us are not bad at them. You know what I mean? But it changed the dynamic of the roll, and we were catching and releasing, and like you could tell that we were actively working on improving ourselves in there. And so it wasn't the hardest like grinding round, right? But we got so much out of that, and so that's like a lot of people, they feel like if they don't train, like this is the thing that's unfortunately, it's frustrating as a coach, is like if someone doesn't come into the gym, if we go through a good session and they get some good stuff, but they're not absolutely exhausted, sometimes they feel like, man, I still got more in me. Like, of course you do, and I want you to have more in you tomorrow and the next day, and the next day. I'm not trying to, like, I could come in here every single day and put everybody through the grinder. It's like, but man, you're not going to be able to do that long term. So I'm like, my goal is, because I know it works for me, is like, I want to, like, there was a guy back then, a bodybuilder named Lee Haney, who used to say, like, you want to stimulate, not annihilate, right? He's like, so you stimulate the muscle and then you move on. Right, and in that same kind of analogy, like I want to like stimulate your growth. I want to get you going, and then we'll leave some for tomorrow. We'll leave some for the next day. I don't need your body being expended completely every time. Now, if there's a tournament training session, that's different. But like on a day-to-day basis, you don't need to go balls to the wall crazy. You want to save some for tomorrow.
Chris, what's been your frequency or intensity since you've come back? Because initially we talked about, you coming back, just positional movements, positional drills, and then like actually positional rolling initially. And you did that. You stuck to that maybe for a week.
Yeah.
But what's your frequency now? Because me and you talked about like you like to go 4 or 5 times a week, and you weren't doing anything else. You're just coming in and training.
Well, that's a valid point for me. I probably, the people in this room lack the discipline on the non-jiu-jitsu focused training. I enjoy this so much. It's a big part of stress relief for me. but I have been coming back to kind of my usual 4 times plus a week. But I've also not been trying to go 100% all the time.
Okay.
And I feel really good right now. My wind's coming back. My knees feel great. My neck that you jacked up is much better. Mm-hmm. But so let's say 50-50.
Yeah.
2 days a week, I'm gonna try to, if I feel good, go at it as hard as I can. And then I've actually been kind of enjoying, playing with some new stuff.
Right.
Playing from bottom. And I'm not being real vocal about it, but just trying to.
Well, yeah, I think
work escapes.
I think when me and you roll, we kind of we don't always. Sometimes we'll go after it. We can feel the intensity, but sometimes we're just moving, trying to get see what you're going to do, see what I'm going to do. Just try to get some movement in, and I think that's how you get better for sure.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And when you do that, when you walk in the gym and you kind of know beforehand that you're not going to go 100%, you're way more free to just play.
Yeah.
And just see where it goes instead of thinking I gotta go. Because now you're I'm just gonna play with some stuff and see where it goes.
And I've gotten I don't know that I was ever really caught up in it, but I just don't really care anymore as far as I'm rolling with a blue belt and I can't let them catch me. I don't care.
I think everybody does at least at some point. It's just natural, you're because it just happens, man. But like you said, over time you care about it less and less and less. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter.
See, for me, it's kind of well, what are they going to think about me? That's the demons you fight.
Yeah.
It's
if you turned it on, you could smoke that guy.
I don't know. It's what if Chewy sees me get caught? What is he going to think? Is he think?
I don't care.
I know you don't, but honestly, you're always, and that you see that with I think blue belts and
I tell you what is interesting to me is if somebody that I generally have more experience than and probably could hold my own against, if they catch me in something, to see how they react to it. If you see their head kind of.
Yeah, or sometimes guys get this thing I'll roll with some of you guys. And you're oh, you gave it to me. I'm well, not really. I was trying something.
Yeah,
I was trying something that I'm not that good with, and you caught me in something. That's just the way it works. I
think we all just assume you give us stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where you change. Again, I talk about this all the time. If I'm playing with someone I know I can smash, I want to work with some different stuff because it keeps it fun for me. I don't find it entertaining just to put my shoulder in someone's face and smash them down. That's not very fun to me. That's why that style of jiu-jitsu that I play for tournaments, I don't do it all the time because it's so boring. Yeah. I want to move. I want to exchange technique and I'll give things up to see where I can. Sometimes I'll let someone come up with a sweep so I can try to scramble out of it to see if I can catch a submission on the fly. You know what I mean? And then if they get inside control, then perfect. I get to work my escape.
Do you think that can have a negative component though because you're kind of building muscle memory possibly to allow certain positions?
Mindset. Because if I walk on the mat and I'm I'm not giving up shit today, I don't give up anything. It's all mindset, right? Okay. It's even when you go for a submission. If you say man, I don't think I can do this submission. I'm not very good with this thing. You're not going to hit that thing.
Yeah.
But if you walk out on the mat and you say, man, I'm taking someone's arm today, you're going to find a way to make that armbar happen. Same thing when you're rolling. It's you can say, I'm going to play today. I'm going to try to work on this position. I'm going to enjoy it. Whatever. Cool. Done. Yeah. Or you can step on the mat and you're I can set. I'm not giving up any sweeps. I'm not giving up any submissions. I'm playing hard nose today. It's just a mindset change. You know what I mean? And then you can always adjust it, especially as you get more and more. I mean, obviously you have to have both ends of it. You got to be able to turn it on and turn it off. And that's takes a while, but you can.
I think for me it's hard, the mental aspect of going with people that are consistently better than you are.
It's because you're neurotic.
No, it's honestly Chad, for example. I love Chad.
I
love Chad's game.
He's mentioned Chad 6 times.
Well, and let me tell you about Chad. I'm actually really proud of Chad. Chad has, he's grown a lot.
Yeah, he's 6'3" right now.
Yeah, he's a killer.
So
he's supposed
Chad,
to kill you.
No, Chad, as Chad being so much younger than me and stuff. Obviously, he's athletically, he's very he's in great shape and all that stuff. But for me, I always saw Chad as a little kid, But I see Chad now, I don't really use the age thing to, I ask him questions. I work with him. I don't feel I'm older than Chad or I've been doing stuff. Chad to me is a great resource because we have a similar build and some of the things we do are similar. And so, I constantly work with Chad because, I feel he does things that I can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it's a mental thing because Chad has gotten the better of me a lot, and so if I'm doing guard retention stuff like sometimes, and it's because Chad obviously is good, and but like sometimes I don't know if I mentally give up certain passes or I don't know. And we kind of talk about that, and Chad will look at me, he's like, dude, you kind of gave me that. Like, and I don't know. I think that
break.
Maybe. And it's because maybe I'm so used to him succeeding in these positions.
Well, yeah, sure. If you mentally accept that person's supposed to beat you,
yeah,
that's
hard, man.
Well, I mean, that happens. Like, but it can have a there can be two different effects from it. One is you can accept that I'm supposed to be beat, and then you kind of roll over.
Right.
Or you kind of say, well, I'm supposed to be beat, so let's fucking throw everything at him because I have nothing to lose.
Right. And I do that too with Chad. He can kind of tell sometimes when I think the big thing with me and him when we roll is guard retention. Like, I can't seem, like, and you as well, I can't seem to keep you in my A game where I want you, knee shield or, whatever. I just can't keep you there.
I don't want to be there.
Well, I know, and I can't keep you there, and I don't like it. But then some people, I'm like, they can't fucking go anywhere. And like, but
because they're probably not thinking about it. Like if I told someone, if I said, hey, listen, like you don't want to be in this person's knee shield because the longer you're here, the worse off it's going to be. If I just said, and I'll give you the question. If I had $1 million over there sitting on the table, could you find a way to get out of their damn knee shield? You'd be like, hell yeah, I could. So that's what you got to think about. You just got to find a way to get out of those games.
I'm trying, man. I've been trying to get out of closed guard, and I feel like shit.
If I had $1 million, could you do it?
Oh, man, I'm gonna do my very best.
Bet you could. You could do it. But I said, like, come on, man.
Yeah, man.
We know you.
You love jiu-jitsu.
Fuck
and
yeah.
You've been in a competition tear the past few years, right?
I don't know about all that. But.
Yeah, you've been competing a lot.
Well, more, but
do you feel like? I'm just kind of
sure
hit me sitting here talking about it. That you are you having as much fun with it as you?
Yeah. I feel I enjoy competing more because I feel more confident in my skill set.
Okay.
I feel more confident in and I talk to people about competing. There was some white belts we were talking about. I was like, why don't you compete? And I was talking to one of the ladies at the gym, and she was like, I just don't want all the attention. I don't want all that. I was like, but it's going to make you better.
Right.
Like that stress and that, being able to go through that difficulty is going to make you better. It's going to make your jiu-jitsu better. It's going to make you more resilient as a person.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to play there. Like I've had tournaments where I went in, I was a white belt, and I freaking had guard, and I just held it for freaking 5 minutes. And I lost on advantage.
But when you do a tournament, one of the things I think that, and this is like, I'll try not to keep this too esoteric, but you have to come to grips with like all your like deficiencies. Like you have good things obviously too, but when you go to a tournament, especially early on, a lot of them people are scared because they're scared of like, what if? Like what if I just completely bomb it?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, and then you have to come to grips with like, it's almost like looking in the mirror, like, and be like having to realize all your faults and stuff. And it's hard for people to, because that's the biggest fear is like, I mean, if I told someone, say, oh man, you're guaranteed, like, there's a scenario where you're guaranteed to win, you can't lose, would you do it? Of course you would.
Yeah.
Almost everyone says yes, but then I say, well, why don't you compete? Because I don't want to lose. Well, you got to roll the dice and see.
Well, I think it's the consequences of losing. For me, like I'll tell you all know my worst thing. Quit breathing hard. My worst thing, and it was in front of everybody. I said like I got caught. It was mentally. I was, I don't know. I don't have any excuses. The guy caught me in a fucking armbar or whatever. But but it was
kudos to that guy because he beat
in front of everyone. Watching me in my gym. That for me was so hard to swallow. But I got better from it. Somehow, some way, I was like, I'm gonna, whether it's go do another tournament next week, and that's what I did, or whatever. But that's one of the things. And it's not like Chewy, you were disappointed in me. It's not like Chris, you were there fucking recording, and you're like, I didn't, I felt ashamed for myself, but also was like, damn, what's Chewy gonna think of me, And
I was so ashamed.
And I apologize to you, and you're like, what are you doing?
What are you apologizing about?
Well, you just because you feel like there's a standard to uphold.
Yeah, there's a standard.
You uphold the standard.
But see, the thing is if you understand what a competitor is, a competitor is basically like a dude standing out in front of a dartboard with some darts in his hand, and you start chucking them. You're not going to hit a bullseye on every one of them.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to hit the damn wall. You're not even going to get on the board, but you just keep doing it over and over again, and eventually you get better at it, so you hit more, bullseyes or more closely to the bullseye more often. And so it's like you're not going to do every one of them. And if you think, every amazing jiu-jitsu practitioner that we like idolize and look up to, they've all lost.
Sure,
that's the way it is. And sometimes they've lost in situations where you're like, wow, they lost that, man.
Yeah,
it really is. I think the best part of it is putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And at risk. And at risk of what we can all sit around and laugh about and debate. But at that moment in time, it feels very important to you.
It does.
And
it's so important. I mean, it's like kind of who you are, almost. It's kind of like part of your identity.
Well, we've all put a lot of work in it.
Yeah.
And we love it, but, you want to think that you can do well, be competitive.
Yeah. I don't know.
There you go. Like,
Chewy, what did you
go into it? So there you go. Like, so you're talking about like confronting like the ego, who you think you are. So you're like confronting it, like because you said you identify with this. I've identified with this person who I think is this good at jiu-jitsu, and then if you put yourself out there to compete, then you have to come to grips with, am I that good?
Right.
And can I do this? Like, am I really a brown belt? Am I really a purple belt? Like, whatever. And then you have to like face that head on, and that's uncomfortable. That's even if you want to get down to it, like that's even like you're talking about going back to like life lessons, being able to like turn around and look at your own bullshit and like come face to face with it and being able to look at it objectively.
Yeah.
And then if you fall short of your expectations, how you internalize that, how you grow from it, how you deal with it.
Yeah.
That's probably the best.
Yeah.
I mean, you hate to, think about the benefits of losing, but I would argue that it's probably more than winning.
But I mean, but even like say like this, Chris, you're a fairly successful guy. Like when we talk about like, I mean, I know you're a modest, but outside of the gym, like in most people's eyes, you'd be a fairly successful dude. You probably had lots of screw ups.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, you probably can go back, oh, man, I fucked this way up, and this, oh, dude, I was, like, so stressed out about this, and I screwed it up. I think that failure is just that's just par for the course.
But somebody famous said it, I don't know who, and they said it probably a lot more eloquent than I am, but, only people that are putting it out there have failures.
Yeah.
If you're never exposing yourself to failure, you're not growing as a person, and you're probably not a guy I want to have a beer with. So, I mean... And this is just kind of a cool space that I've found to try to stay healthy and meet nice people and grow as a person. It's really cool.
Well, I think you're vulnerable too. I mean, the vulnerability of competing is just.
We're like competing, but jiu-jitsu's honest.
It is.
I mean, you can. I see this a lot of people my age because we have as you get older, and let's say you're not in doing an activity that keeps you honest with where your skill set is, you have a memory of maybe you were the good, football player, or maybe you back in the 90s when nobody knew jiu-jitsu, maybe you got in a few bar fights and held your own pretty well. Maybe you're that guy. And you go through life a lot of times to the grave with this kind of internal image of what you are. Well, that guy was like 18 to 24, you get a guy that comes into a gym with those type of expectations, and he gets beat by an old dude or a girl, or gasses out. It's interesting to me to see who comes back and who says, jiu-jitsu's not for me. And more so than being claustrophobic, or
right.
It's really that ego thing that I think keeps people, from sticking with it. And
I think you bring up a good point, because like the guys that come in, obviously, and Chewy will record some of them, his conversations with the guys that want to fight, quote unquote UFC. They're the ones that don't stick around. The guys that come in, they're like maybe, I don't know, necessarily introverted or like more shy or quiet or less confident, and they're expecting to kind of expecting to get. They're almost like used to getting beat down. Thing.
The other
they're almost used to getting beat down.
Spectrum is that maybe you were the guy that got picked on, or maybe you were the guy that didn't make the football team. You come in here long enough, you're gonna be able to hold your own.
Right, and it's just consistency is the thing. I think everybody,
and that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. I think is that it keeps you honest. It cuts through bullshit.
What do you think, Chewy? What are you thinking?
I'm having a real out there thought.
What's your thought?
I don't think it'll be long.
Let's go. Let's hear it, man. I'm sure people like Chewy ramble.
So I'm trying to think about it, but this idea keeps popping in. So in every in most religious texts, most mythological texts, things like that, or stories, even movies, right?
Okay.
There's always a story, the hero, right? When they go on their little thing and then they come back, whenever they go out there, they always end up facing like that which they're most afraid of, and they have to come to grips with who they are personally. That's always like the big thing, right? Because there's always an outer and an inner struggle for the character in a story. The outer struggle is like the actual tangible thing where we can say this is whatever, but there's always an inner struggle where they're like, they realize, man, I'm a fucking asshole, or man, I'm a really like cold person to this people, and like they try to change it, they have to come to grips with it. It's always that big struggle with their identity, right? And so you're talking about the identity, right? Like it's you have big guys that come in there and they think that there's something, and then they have to come to grips with this like crisis of their identity. I'm not that person. Or when you go to a tournament, you've built up this nice little cushion for yourself, because it's no different, right? If you think about the guy that was the football player in high school, he feels like he has this comfort from, I used to be this or that, whatever. It's no different than when someone comes into the gym and they start training and they're like, I've built this thing up where I can submit some of the guys in the gym. I'm comfortable now. I feel like I'm pretty good at something. Yeah. And then you have to put that you have to go through that process again of building up, where you're going to say, now I'm going to put that identity that I have, that fragile little thing that I built up, and I'm going to put it to the test out in this like really hostile environment of a tournament or competitions or whatever. And then you're like, does it hold up? And that's really freaking scary. And so that's where, again, you go in, this story pops up all the time, where they have to, basically it's like looking in the mirror. They have to come to grips with who they are, and again and again and again, So I think that one of the things where it is, it's like even like, for me, like even I feel it sometimes, because it's like, okay, like I'm a black belt, whatever, and then like I got to go out and compete against like people, and I know that again, you guys will be happy that like you're like my coach is out there competing, right? But there's definitely still a bit of anxiety or nervousness that comes to grips with it, because you're like, I don't want to lose in front of my guys, because they have this image of who I am, and I have this image of being like their coach that can go out there and do the thing, and I don't want that to be taken down. I mean, I think that's what it kind of distills down to. Yeah. I mean, like you can say whatever it is, but I think that's really what it comes down to, is like you don't want that to be messed up with.
Do you still have that, like when you compete? Is that something that goes through your head?
Of course. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't fixate on it, but it pops up. It pops up and says like, man, I wouldn't want to lose in front of my guys. Like, shit, you guys made the 3-hour drive and come out there like smack in the gym. It's like, oh, there it is. Chewy lost. Okay, shit. Like, I mean, again, I know you guys would be supportive and you're happy that your coach is out there competing, because not all of them do. But at the same time, I think when it distills down to it, that's really kind of at a base level, very
human nature.
Human nature. Like, that's what I think what it comes down to, is who you are is being like put to challenge. Right, and that's kind of scary, because again, we fixate, we identify, we cling to like, who do I think I am, right? Because like I think I'm this, my name's Chewy, or my name's Nick, and like, everybody calls me Chewy, and I'm good at Jiu-Jitsu and all this stuff, whatever. And so now like part of that identity is being tested. And I think that's scary. Anytime you do something in life, anytime you put who you are and your security, your comfort level, you put that to the test. It's scary stuff.
And being good at Jiu-Jitsu is relative. Let's be honest. I mean, it's always going to be somebody out there that's better than everybody else.
Unless you're Marcelo Garcia.
Exactly. And at some point, Marcelo's going to get old. And, it's all going to happen to all of us. I mean, you're not going to be the guy that you once were.
Right.
But at the same time, I just think it's so cool, because you can come in regularly and get tested and kind of gauge where you think you are, and then you can put it on the line in front of a crowd, in front of your teammates, and that's just really healthy. I mean, it can cause some neurotic behavior,
internal struggles.
But that's probably good that it gets exercised here, not out in another place.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's any like if somebody comes in, any personality traits or any kind of like anything you look at and you're like, that guy's going to do well, or that guy's not? Is there anything you can see?
You kind of said it right. The quiet dudes, the dudes that just come in and grind, like the dudes that don't do very well. It's always the dudes that tell me how well they're going to do. Those dudes never stick with it. But the guys that are just like, yeah, I'm here to train. I kind of saw something online and I was interested in it. And they kind of downplay. Even me, when I first started, I was kind of quiet. Like I talked to my coach originally. And I told him, through AWOL Instant Messenger, that was pretty good. And I was probably going to be close to blue belt level. But then when I came in, I got smashed. I was just I shut up. And I didn't say anything. I was just coming in there and just shut my mouth and trained. You know what I mean? And then, so, over there, I can always see, we've had plenty of guys that we've seen come in where they post a lot on Facebook, and they're doing all this stuff all the time. And then, you don't see them in the gym very often. Or or then there's plenty of guys who don't post anything, but they're here in the gym every single day. And they get better, you know what I mean? Because I feel like just the quiet dudes seem to do better. Maybe it's just our gym nature, our gym culture, but usually it's the guys that don't talk very much that do the best.
And I had no expectations for myself. I really got into it because somebody introduced me to it, and I thought it would be a fun way to try to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And
now you've had two knee injuries.
Exactly. And I can't quit.
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
Two knee injuries, yeah, but dude, you should see the picture of him with his supple leopard pose.
That was a classic.
Dude,
What?
Chris is big. He's a big boy when he first came over. How much did you weigh?
Yeah.
Guy.
How much you weigh, though?
I was getting close to 250. Probably.
I was going to say, good. Well, 250, and even your composition seemed a little different, man, because you had a nice little, it was a nice little round
So
thing.
you got the ladies, man. You got the man bod. Wait, dad bod?
That was a little past dad bod.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe. Yeah.
That was like guys drinks too much beer bod.
Yeah, I wasn't getting a lot of exercise.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel like, as far as you say you're getting a lot of stress out and stuff, like, do you feel like jiu-jitsu's changed you mentally? Like,
man.
As far as, like, do you feel like you're more, I mean, everybody's like, well, I'm more patient or this or that. Well, what do you feel like?
Outside of the gym?
I mean, you feel like you're better at your job as a lawyer because of jiu-jitsu?
I think I'm better at life because of jiu-jitsu. I mean, that sounds a little...
Winning at life.
That sounds a little...
Sounds
over
cliche.
the top,
yeah.
But it's kind of true. I mean, it's just...
Your slogan.
Yeah, no.
It should be a slogan.
When I was injured, my wife would tell you 100%, I'm just not my happy-go-lucky self. You get a little grouchy. It really is healthy to come in here and kind of get a good sweat on, get yourself put in your place. And
well, you're letting off those feel-good hormones,
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Well,
but no, it has helped me.
How did you mentally, when you were injured, what did you do mentally? Is there anything you thought that you did to mentally overcome stuff?
I'm like, man, maybe I don't need to keep rolling, and maybe this is my signal to slow down or do something different, and I can't.
This last time?
Yeah, I mean,
you freaking recovered so fast.
But
that's stupid.
I've asked the same question.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
mean,
why?
I have other hobbies. This isn't my only hobby, and I'm like, I don't want to be, getting knee replacements at a young age. But this has become, a big part of my life, and I don't know what'll happen to, ultimately at some point we all don't get to do what we want forever, but it's not now.
I think you can do it in some way, some capacity. That's the thing I was talking to people about jiu-jitsu. There's always some capacity you can do jiu-jitsu. As far as if you're injured, if your arm is injured, obviously you have to be controlled. But like when I had fractured my arm, I had to get back in. I was out for like 4 to 6 months or something, and I had to put it in and just do what I could with my arm in my belt, and it sucked because it's like you're getting the shit beat out of you, but I think you can be. It's problem solving. It really is. It's problem solving, and you can train. Like for you, for example, like because you had that itch and you had to scratch that itch. You had to get back on the mats. I was like, all right, so Chris is going to get back on the mats regardless. I know he's probably not quite ready, but how can I help him get on the mats? So we started drilling on the mats. We started doing positional stuff on the mats and controlled stuff. And I think that at least helps that transition. At least starts building that muscle memory back, which I think is so crucial. Because if you're not done jiu-jitsu 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, you're going to come back. You're not going to have the reaction time and all that stuff. That's why consistency is so important. I feel like just getting in there. I think it helps build muscle memory, and we talked about those neurological components. That's a huge part of jiu-jitsu, I think.
No, and I owe you a big thank you. I did get you the jiu-jitsu socks.
He did. Those were amazing.
No, you were very helpful, and having somebody like you to kind of help a guy like me that's injured, that is kind of prone to do too much and probably the wrong stuff at the wrong time, I think made a big difference. But you have to be smart at some point, and you have to realize that this is the circumstance that you're in. So what can you do to get some longevity and not make a bad situation worse?
That's the key though, longevity. And Chewy, that's something you've done, like, because you're still as successful, if not more successful, at tournaments and grappling. I think you're continuing to get better. Even if you've got a little older. But your longevity, like your ability to do this consistently, long term, day in and day out, and go and do seminars and whatever, and I think that's been the big change for you that I've seen.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Tim Proctor and I were asking, we were kind of talking about this the other day. We kind of got off in left field with it, but I don't know if you guys think about like maybe why you do it, and like what sort of components contribute to this like list. It's like, man, it feels good to be back here. This feeling, you know what I mean? Is it the exercise? Is it the problem solving? Is it the learning? Is it the whatever? And I think one of the things that for me it is the group connection. Yeah. Like I think as humans we are naturally like communal, tribal creatures, and you don't get a lot of close connections with people as much as you used to because we're separated by technology. And then even if you go into work, you might you might have some cool guys you work with, but like a lot of times for most people they work in like offices and they work in these groups where everybody's like trying to undercut each other and they don't really give a shit about each other. You know what I mean? So you're in a group, you're surrounded by people day to day that really don't like you and you don't necessarily like them. You're just there. Yeah. But you get to come to a place where again it cuts through all sorts of bullshit. It's like it doesn't matter what color you are, how much money you make, any of that silly shit. All it says is like, are you here to train? Are you here to sort of be here for the benefit of yourself and your training partners? And you have this bond that transcends a lot of things. And I think that one of the things that you can take back, because I know that for me, even when I was injured for different times, if I could still get here and teach, or I could even if I could just get here and hang out sometimes, I was good. I wasn't as grumpy. But it was like, if I wasn't a part of the group, I got really friggin' irritated. And it makes me think about these old dudes I used to lift with back in the day who were like, they got old, dude. Like one of them, Jim, I told you about him. He's an old dude. He's like almost 70, bench pressing 315, no problem. But there were some of these older guys that used to lift too. And they would just come in and like we would put like 115 pounds on there for them on their bench press, right? And we would max out on Friday nights. And you could tell that like their physical capacity had diminished, but they were still being a part of the group, right? There'd be like 10 of us all goofing in there, like hanging out. We drink beers afterwards, whatever. And that was this ritual that was happening. And I think that for being connected. So even as you get older, you just train a lot less as far as your capacity goes, and you understand, like, man, you're not going to be rolling hard, but you can still be a part of the group. Right. Maybe you can teach some. Maybe you're not going to roll as much, but you start to pass that knowledge on to someone else, which is a really cool thing that humans can do, right? There's nothing really that's probably more cool as far as what we can do than take what we understand and share it to other people, right? And so I think that even as you get older, you can still do things. You have to let go of who you thought you were before when you were thinking you were this big badass dude that can just run through the brick wall. You had to let go of that, but you can still do something. What was the question? I was just thinking about it.
Being a certain, like, when you're at work, you're in a certain construct, certain box. Like, there's certain guidelines. Like, these are the guidelines you have to abide by. And everybody's so different, they don't always, like...
But see, it's not different. To me, it's like when you listen to guys talk about when they were in combat, right? They don't like combat, right? Combat sucks, but they miss being there with people where they knew, I got your back, you got mine. And to say that, Chris, I'm going to give you I'm going to trust you that you have my arm and that you can physically disable me, but I'm going to trust you that you're going to put me down gently, or you have your arm around my neck. You literally have my ability to, to keep living beyond like the next minute or so, right? I'm giving you that, and I trust you with it. Like, that's a cool thing, and I feel like, again, you kind of cut through some of that stuff, and it's obviously it's not the same as combat, but you have that same sort of, the way that they talk about each other, it's the same thing where you talk about each other where, like, it cuts through a lot of bullshit, so you can be different. You can be all these different factors, but at the same time, we can understand on a base level, we're pretty much the same.
Yeah. And that's the honesty. And, the neat thing about the Jiu-Jitsu community is, you run into another brown belt or purple belt. I start off with a threshold level of respect because I have some sense of what that person's done, hopefully, to reach that level. And, we may be totally different politically, socially, everything else, but, 8 times out of 10, it's going to be somebody you enjoy being around, enjoy training with. That's just a neat community that, it's something special, really, from what I've experienced.
Well, I think you've gone through similar experiences. Like, you've gone through, like, similar hardships almost.
Similar experiences that a significant segment of the population would not, I don't want to say be able to, but would not subject themselves to because of lots of different reasons. But, to somebody to stick with what we do, because it's not easy, but and find enjoyment in that and to grow from that. I think, again, I start with a level of, guy's probably a pretty good dude.
Yeah. Well, think of we just had promotion a couple days ago. Matt Harrison.
Yeah.
So Matt is one of those guys that actually, before I even knew him, I competed against him. He was at another gym, purple belt, and I didn't know Matt. I didn't know Matt at all. When he came to he said he was a guy that competed a lot and just didn't. You guys, Chewy and Chad, were in his corner a little bit when he was kind of competing on his own because he competed a lot more than some of the other people at his gym, and they end up coming over. I think that's really that's a difficult situation to be that far along in your jiu-jitsu journey, so to speak, and to make a transition like that where you're already a higher level. Your purple belt, 4th stripe, or whatever, you're a higher level, then to transition and switch. But then I think he did it because of the atmosphere, the environment, and I got to know Matt. I was very skeptical of Matt, because when you compete against somebody, you're like, you don't know them. You're kind of, you know what I mean? You're kind of like, who's this guy? What's he doing? Why is he here? What's he trying to do? Or and then you got to know Matt, and Matt's like we talked about, like he's a student of martial arts. Like, he really has got so much knowledge, and Chewy brought up a point, like, Matt can teach little kids. Like, look at if you want to know how good you are at jiu-jitsu and your knowledge of jiu-jitsu, teach little kids. And it was, to me, Matt's transition, and, we've kind of corrupted Matt a little bit, probably. Gone to the dark side, we say. But,
we got a cool gym, but let's be
it's honest. Awesome. Matt's on the dark side. He grows a beard now and stuff. He's on the dark side.
Oh, is that what the dark side means?
He wears like a black gi.
Oh, you mean the dark side of like non-traditional jiu-jitsu?
But no, Matt's like I don't know. He's been a guy that's very gracious. Like, I guess, I don't know, very upbeat. He's always and I respect it. I like that you get to meet people like that.
We meet a lot of people like that. I mean, in my experience at tournaments and everywhere, I mean, even walking off the mat with somebody you just kind of put it all on the line with. Most of the time it's a hug and a handshake and thanks, brother.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes not for me, though.
Well,
sometimes
you
I yell people.
up.
That's because you get up rowdy.
What's that?
That's because you're rowdy.
No, man. No, I'm usually.
But back to kind of what Chew was saying. I mean, you've done this long enough. You've put yourself through that repetitive cycle of kind of retesting and exposing yourself to your vulnerabilities that are going to be laid out there for all the world to see. There's no hiding it, and that makes you, I think, typically a better person. And it's,
and doing what you want to do for a living, or a majority of your life. So, going to work and stuff. If you don't enjoy what you do, or you spend a lot of time at work, like if you don't, like I enjoy jiu-jitsu, I enjoy physical therapy. I enjoy helping people get better. But, like, for me, like, starting to combine jiu-jitsu and physical therapy has brought so much, like, I don't know, it brings me, like, comfort to an extent because I can help people get them back on the mats and keep them on the mats and stuff. I feel like I'm finding my direction, so to speak, like, because there's a lot of physical therapists that some are really good at, rehabbing basketball or football or, whatever.
Right.
Like, I feel like as a jiu-jitsu practitioner and a physical therapist have a unique, like, mindset into, like, what jiu-jitsu guys deal with.
Yeah. It's like trying to talk to my ortho about, when I'm ready to go back to do something. I could almost manipulate that conversation and, man, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go back. And he's like, well, you might want to hold off distance running. I'm like, okay. But he doesn't know what
people don't know. A lot of doctors don't know.
I'll hold off distance running. No marathons for me. No problem, doc.
But, that's the thing. Like, people are like, well, how the hell do I know when I'm ready to come back? Like, I get that question a lot. Like, how do I know when I'm ready to come back to jiu-jitsu? Well, I mean, you really don't know until you put some impact, some stress on your body and see how it responds, But I think it's about being gradual with the return too. But I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but I don't know. It's just what I love doing. Like I was like driving to jiu-jitsu, and I was like, man, when I die, like, what am I gonna have? Like, what am I gonna remember? Or if I'm, you're gonna have memories of stuff, memories of training. And I think that's or doing things that I love doing, spending my time doing, things I enjoy.
Yeah, I think again, a lot of the friendships, the camaraderie, the testing yourself with your teammates, that's going to be the stuff you remember.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the time you got beat.
Mm-hmm.
Might be for you because you kind of.
Oh my god. Chewy, since he's talking about being awesome at jiu-jitsu and stuff. What was it like? I was curious since you did a seminar.
Uh-huh.
What was it like for you? Do you feel like any kind of pressure when you did a seminar? Do you feel like people had expectations? Did you feel like you met them or didn't meet them, or because you have a certain, you're a type C, you're a C level celebrity in jiu-jitsu.
Jesus, we're going back to that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing earlier because, you know all of us and you've taught us for a long time, and so you're kind of going through your normal motions when you're interacting with us. It's really a friendly environment. Is that different, and is it harder when you don't know the audience? So to speak?
Do you feel like there's an expectation there, like I can't mess around or?
No, I mean, to me, man, it's like, I mean, if you watch my videos, then I'm kind of a goof. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so I pretty much acted the same way. Like, one of the guys was, at the end of it, he was saying, man, thanks for, like, not being mad at us because we were goofing around. And I was like, jeez. I was like, dude, this is so much easier than our class. Because, I mean, hell, dude, sometimes, like, Rob and Eric and Chris, they all get on a tangent together and start like, wrestling around in the middle of me teaching,
Yeah, we do.
But that's okay. It's like, again, because I don't care. It's like, we're in here to have fun. As long as we, like, at least stay on direction for the most part, we're all right. But no, I don't feel, I mean, there's pressure to put on a good thing. I mean, I put some work into like piecing some stuff together that hopefully they can use. I mean, because that's the pressure. It's like I don't want someone to come to the seminar and be like, oh man, that was really cool. I can't use any of that. I'd like someone to walk away with at least one thing that they can use or one detail that they can use for their game. And there's pressure for that to perform and give them something valuable. But as far as like pressure, as far as me like living up to expectations, I mean, man, like, people, if they haven't met me, then they know who they know from a video or what they've heard. And so it's like, in that sense, it's just like, whatever, man. Like, I'm just who I am. Like, hopefully I don't let you down too much. Right? Because it's like, that's the thing. It's like, people are like, oh, man, jiu-jitsu. Well, I'm like, dude, I'm just a dude. Like, I mean.
Do you feel like the videos are a pretty accurate representation of who you are? Like your personality and stuff?
I do jiu-jitsu. I goof off a lot. And I ramble.
I think they're good. I think that's, the content obviously catches people, but just guessing, you're having success with the videos is because people see somebody there that seems honest and they're not bullshitting them, and you get the connection with the real person.
Exactly. Yes. I think you hit the nail on the head. You're relatable.
Yeah,
like you don't.
That's right.
You're relatable to a lot of people that are trying to find maybe their not their voice, but find their like. I don't know what the exact words would be, but, white, that shit wasn't around when I was a white belt. Like, you're just like, you go to the gym, and you get the shit beat out of you. It's not like, hey, man, I had a rough day at jiu-jitsu. Nobody's talking about that. You just go home and suck it up, and then you try to come back the next day and do a little better. Like, there wasn't like this.
I have a vivid memory as a white belt, like walking in and seeing like 3 or 4 guys that I knew were just going to rub me into the mat mercilessly. And
what'd you think about that?
I guess
did that happen?
Oh yeah, it did. And I guess it's like as you get older, you turn into that curmudgeonly guy, and you think the young kids have it so easy. And I do find myself kind of sitting down going, I wonder if that guy's getting tuned up like he needs to. Like I was. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's as harsh of an environment. It's not like
it's not as harsh as it used to be.
It's not like it does seem to be a little more.
We're getting soft, man.
Happy-go-lucky.
We're getting soft.
No, we're not getting soft. We're becoming smarter. Like, dude, because that's the thing. Like, I mean, even as I was younger, I remember Thursday used to be a day where I would like bring out like exercise equipment and we would train hard, do all kinds of stuff, and but at the end I was like, you kind of say like, why am I doing this? I'm like, I'm doing this just because I want to wear people out. So they're like, oh man, that was awesome, but it's like it's not really helping them that much.
Why not?
Because it's like we'd be better off to drill more.
Do you think
I get an hour and a half sometimes with you guys? Like, it's like, why am I going to friggin' mess around with like exercise? Like, dude, we can drill our balls off and then do lots of rolling and get way more value out of it.
Do you think like there is value in like maybe having somebody mentally taking them to like their point of exhaustion, or like to where they like feel like they want to give up.
Absolutely. So then you put them out and like friggin' have people like do rounds on them, and then just keep beating them down until eventually they give. I think there's more efficient ways to do it than just like making them do exercises that they probably aren't. They're going to start slopping up. You know what I mean? Like things like that, just because it's making them tired.
I remember I was getting ready for Atlanta, I think, and you kept us out there, and like I couldn't. I think I had to pass guard or something, and I was like,
I remember you couldn't.
Oh my god, dude! Because I was. I mean, like it was like I was so exhausted, and then like I was just about to pass. I think I was wrong with Tommy, and he like flipped me back, and I was like, oh my god! And like everybody had passed, and I was the only one out there.
You had to pass, otherwise we were gonna.
And I was just like, dude, I was so that mentally. I was like that was so mental for me, like fighting that was. I mean, that was hard. That was hard
because then you have to be in charge of your mind, because your mind will get away from you and it'll be like, just sit down, Eugene. Just lay down. You don't have to pass guard. You can just roll over and let him sweep you. And then you have to actively go, no, go.
Oh my god!
Just pull your arm back and let him put you in a triangle. It'll be over soon.
I don't know.
Gee, you got a lot, going on now with, working on your videos and doing the gym stuff. What do you find time to like work on your game, or what are you working on in your own game right now?
Right now, it's so like no-gi leg locks, working on leg locks a little bit, mainly entries and control. I don't really worry about the finish so much. It's like I want to see how long I can keep them there and then see where they go, so I can sort of I can learn how to control the position better. Gi, it always varies. Like sometimes it depends on the person. I just got I was working on some stuff, but now that I just got back from the seminar, I'm going to kind of like retool everything and figure out what I'm going to do. But most of it comes from like when I'm doing research for like classes or something, because I'll go up and I'll look through stuff, because you remember there's so much jiu-jitsu you forget, and then you see it and you're like, that's right, okay, cool, you remember that move, and then you can like whatever. So if I'm going through and like planning stuff out for the week, I'll like look through stuff and I'll like watch matches sometimes, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool move, I should work on that. I think I'm going to do that. Like in the gi, probably what I'm going to be focusing on coming up soon is the Ezekiel. I suck with Ezekiels. I don't train them enough, so I don't really go after them. And my mindset is such that when I go for them, I don't really believe I can get them. And so I've got to like train myself to go for the Ezekiel, because I'd like to be able to do it from time to time, because I get to those positions a lot, and I'd like to at least have a good threat with it. And some
is
collar
that
stuff. You
kind of doing a self-evaluation of your game, or do you talk with Sean, or how do you kind of?
I mean, with Sean's more of like, Sean's more of like it's a mentor thing, but as far as like self-evaluation is where it comes from. It basically is like, what's that feeling that it's going back to sort of the cliche stuff that people say sometimes, but it's like absolutely true. When you feel uncomfortable about doing something, it's like, oh, that's what you should go do.
Right.
And so for me, sometimes it's like for instance, like last night I was rolling with Chad. I would probably say Chad's leg locks are a little bit better than mine, and so I was like, I instantly have that feeling where I don't want to play leg locks with Chad. I usually keep my legs back so he can't get to him. And then I was like, no, I'm going to put my leg out there. And I just stuck my leg out there and let him initiate the leg hack, and then I started playing that game, and we had a good time at it,
Right.
Because I had that feeling where, I don't want that. Okay, that's where I should go. And so sometimes when I do a submission, I don't feel like I'm good with it, or a move or a position I don't feel like I'm good with it. I'm like, perfect, that's what I need to do. Sometimes it's as simple as like, I don't feel comfortable passing on my left or my right or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I need to focus on now. Or, man, I've got a great half guard when I'm on my right shoulder. Well, I need to do that on my left shoulder now. And so this way I'll just kind of follow that, because that typically will tell you where you need to go. You know what I mean?
I guess I'm somewhat passive. I mean, we all come in here and we've got your instruction, and this is what we're working on this week, and so kind of ask the question for a little bit of insight, really, on how, I think as you kind of go up the hierarchy, at some point you have to be, filling in your own holes and being a little more proactive with your own game.
Probably avoid certain things. Like
just think about where, if you really want to figure out like where you can get the most growth from your game, think about where you suck the most. Think about what makes you feel so uncomfortable to be there, and just go there. Go headlong into it, because what's cool is if you dive into like an underdeveloped position or attack, you immediately get measurable growth. Because you went from hitting no Ezekiel chokes to hitting, oh man, I hit 3 of them the other day, right? And you instantly know it. That feels good, because I know that, because sometimes you train, you don't know if you're getting better or not. You're just like, I'm here, so I assume I'm getting better. But there's some days where, like, when you hit something you've never hit before, where you instantly know, oh, I jumped a little bit, I got better. And so sometimes like that, like you have measurable success, and that's really motivating. And then at the same time, you'll be building up a new position that you won't be uncomfortable with anymore. So that's a good, like, sort of like a way to sort of just guide you through it sometimes.
That's where tournaments come in.
Tournaments are
great for, you know, I was like, oh, my guard passing is not where it needs to be. Or actually guard, I feel like I have I don't have as good a stand-up, like standing pass, you know, and that's what I've started working on. Because a lot of times you got to stand up to get the guard open. And then from there, you got to make sure you have good, you don't want to just, I mean, you can kind of go in the over-under position, stuff like that, but that's what I've been trying to work on. I've been trying to get myself into close guard and then get out of it, because that's where, you know, I avoid. Like for Matt Harrison has great, you know, guard. So what I do when I roll with him is I avoid guard at all costs. I'll pull guard on him or whatever, but I have started trying to put myself in his guard, and if I can sit in there and pop out of it or whatever, you know, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get things you're good at, and then when you're better than a lot of people, or you're higher belt, I guess, or higher ranked, you're going to be able to put them in your wheelhouse more often. Yeah. So you won't even, I guess you won't be put in those bad positions, so you'll be able to avoid them, I think, a little more. I think, you know, because I feel like I'm comfortable playing half guard, Z guard, close guard. When I get in somebody else's, I'm not as good there.
Well, of course.
And so that's where I don't know.
I think I'm pretty passive about it. I think I just like rolling, and so I'm just kind of happy to come in here and be doing it. And I'm not all the time.
Not always. Try to beat my ass all the time.
But I'm not working on something. I can't, you know, if you said, Chris, what are you working on right now in your game, I'd be like having a good time.
But you know, and sometimes like that's good enough. Like you know, like, I don't actively have something going in all. I don't have active like, you know, irons in the fire all the time. Sometimes it's like, why are you training? I'm just having fun, man. I'm just here. You know, and then there's sometimes where I want to focus on something because I get like a, you know, bug up my butt. I'm like, I'd really like to get with that move, but I mean, not all the time. You know, it's like something. It's just, you know, just you got to kind of go with it, because again, you're not training for tomorrow. You're training for like 20 years or 40 years, whatever. You know, so it's like, if you're not actively working, it's okay. You know, and again, Jiu-Jitsu doesn't, like I've said this in a recent video, Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have seasons, right? So it's not like you're actively getting ready for a competition or actively getting ready for something all the time. So you need to just have a low-key sort of time where you can just play, because you don't really have downtime where you take 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months off. You're always going somehow. So you have to make sure you, like, don't, like, you know, get too crazy about that progress thing, because you'll end up starting to, like, burn yourself out trying to be like, what should I be focusing on? Just be there.
I do think I'd like to go out to the Master Worlds this year, though. Just
it's
to see
awesome,
all those
man.
old dudes.
It's so cool. It's so cool to be there.
We're going to have all kinds of people at the Master Worlds this year. It's going to be so much fun.
I think she was implying that I'm having a child around that time.
It's your fault, man.
Well,
you can just FaceTime.
Let me tell you this.
Look, dude, like you could just FaceTime.
Trish has this covered.
Yeah.
She might prefer you be at the
It's not her first rodeo. Dude, you can just FaceTime.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, baby, you got this.
Man,
you can even put like that VR headset on or something.
Honestly, I don't feel like I'm missing out. I'm obviously, I want to be there. I was there and I had not the best performance, so I want to go back and do that. But that was a big jump for me, not doing just regional tournaments and not doing an IBJJF or a Master World or whatever. That was the first big tournament I did. And the level of people that are able to play the game to the rules is, like, people are very good at playing those rules.
Sure.
They're very good at it. Very, very good. Because, I mean, you have to really make sure that, you know, some guys can get 2 points and they can coast, you know. They can coast. They know exactly how to get just the point where they maybe get a few, you know, warnings or whatever, but just enough to score enough and move on. And people are really good at that. Sometimes they won't be as aggressive, or, you know, people have one move that they really work on to hit, and then once they hit that, they kind of hang back. And, you know, at that level, purple, brown, whatever, even blue, you know, if they're at a certain point and they know how to hold you off, they can hold you off.
Yeah.
But it was seeing the people there, seeing, like, those people that you watch
the videos,
and you like Kurt Oceaner, obviously, I was like, oh my god, Kurt Oceaner's there, you know. But Andre Galvao he didn't compete, but like Chewy was freaking one match away from going against Lovato Jr. You know, it was And I would have loved to see that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to freaking see that. And he was right there. And Justin, freaking, I don't know, that guy is like probably one of the best competitors, like that I think at our gym, 100%.
So that's the
Justin
tournament
Clark.
where Salo separated his
Yep,
bicep.
that was right there. Yeah,
Finished the damn match.
Yep. Did he win? I think he won.
Yeah, he won.
It was crazy.
Won
He was
on
right there. Yeah. I was right there watching. I was like, oh my god, this is just, it's crazy. Like you get so into you feel it. It feels something different. Just the energy, the atmosphere is so different.
The atmosphere is different. You can feel that at tournament to tournament.
Right.
You'll walk into some like regional tournaments and it seems kind of almost like fun, and then you go into like a Pans and it's like
business.
Yeah, it's like you walk in the room and you can like smell it or feel it that it's like something's going on in here. You know what I mean? It's a different energy.
Well, and we talked about the difference between like master guys and master. They just go after it too. They're not. They're just getting after it.
Old guys are mean.
They're not fucking around. They're going after it.
Too old to fuck around, man.
Every single person there was working for, they're working to win. They were not trying to, to do anything to.
You just think that's because the way they learn jiu-jitsu?
Maybe.
Or do you think it's a little bit of sand through the hourglass? They can kind of feel it.
No, I don't know. It could be a little bit of both. I mean,
I don't know, man. I think it's probably that. Maybe that's how they learned jiu-jitsu. But, even a lot of those old competitors that were competing, they used to be boring as shit. Like, if you, like boring jiu-jitsu competition's been around from the get-go. Go watch, like, some of the old mundials, and, like, guys would get a pass and just sit there. Yeah. And they wouldn't move, man. Like, but these are the same guys that are competing, but now they're competing more in a more exciting fashion. I think it's probably just from age, man, because you realize, like, the
pressure's off.
Especially think about it this way.
Expectations.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're still there, but it's kind of like...
Yeah.
I think that the more and more you do this stuff, the more and more you realize, like, at the end of it, like, it's not about that medal.
Right.
It's about, like, man, how, like, it's not just if you won, but how you won.
You say it all the time. I think that's, I think going out there and going hard, and even if you lose or get caught, I mean, you went out there and you didn't leave anything out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important. So, Chewy, what do you feel like? What's your plans for competing? Are you going to do Master Worlds? Is that what you?
I think of Master Worlds. Yeah.
Are you going to do Pans again?
Well, Pans already over. I mean, Nogi Pans.
Well, there's
Worlds, but Pans already over.
Well, you just competed last. No, I'm sorry. How long was that? 2 years ago?
Nogi Pans in the fall, though. Right?
Yeah, Nogi Pans is
That's
in October.
Are you going to do that?
I don't know. We'll see.
I know you did Nogi Pans last year, and Justin just did the Pans. Yeah. Was it only gi this time? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do the gi pans and the gi worlds in the spring,
right?
And they do the gi no-gi pans, no-gi worlds in the fall.
What do you still want to accomplish? I know I ask this all the time. Anything changed? Anything else you want to accomplish?
Sure.
As far as jiu-jitsu competition goes?
No.
Nothing.
No. I mean, I'm still going to compete, but I mean, like, I don't compete because I'm trying to accomplish anything.
Okay.
I think I give a shit about medals.
So like, you are a Pan Am champion.
Yeah, I want a medal. It's like, but it's like, man, I don't give a shit about this. That medal, I think it's still. I don't know if it's up yet. I think I sat it down in a corner somewhere, and it's like collecting dust. It's like It's like I compete because I enjoy testing myself. I enjoy competing because it's good to be a coach that's out there doing the thing to lead from the front. But I don't give a shit about no damn medals. Like, it's fun to have them, but it's like it's cool to say you can whatever. But I'm not gonna like here's my Pan Am champion, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. I'm not gonna do that, because to me, I'm not a gi adult Pan Am champion. And to me, like, when you talk about, like, the thing, you're either a world champion, because, there's people that do, like, I'm a no-gi world champion, I'm a Pan Am champion. When you were a white belt, you're a black belt now. It's like, like, time to let that stuff go, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But there's so many, there's like 100 and something world champions in jiu-jitsu. Woo! If you're not an adult world champion, I mean, you're kind of just like, you're sort of a world champion. You're a world champion at guys from 30 to 35. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it just sounds silly to me. So it's like, I like medals. I think they're cool. I don't give a fuck about, if I went to the competition and they didn't give me a medal, but I still won, I'd be like, I'm fine with that. I don't care. It's like, I'm not doing it for someone else. I don't care about the medal. I'm more about, like, I want to be out there doing it because it's for my own sake. So I don't really have any sort of, like, I'm trying to accomplish anything. That's just like, that's a different chase. I mean, there's other stuff.
You're not trying to get a title. You're just trying to.
I'm just trying. Exactly. I'm there to, like, I'm putting on a show for myself. Because it's like, again, it's like a painting, right? A painter's painting a painting, right? To put on, like, to put his skills to the test and really make something, right? So that when someone see it, they go, ooh. right? I want, like, when I compete, I want someone to watch it and go, ooh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or, man, that was really good. You went after that guy. Or, wow, that was a cool submission. What was that? You know, I don't want it to be like, oh, cool, he won, right? Like, oh, he got a point and he sat there. Like, I want to be like, oh, man, that was really cool. That's what it's about for me. It's like, you know, it's like you're the artist, right? What kind of art do you create?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it comes down to.
That makes sense. I mean, is there anything you want to do as far as, like, with social media or, like, reaching out? Is there anything as far as, like, do you just kind of keep doing what you're doing?
I'm just doing what I'm doing. And, like, I mean, mainly there's other goals, but those are more for, like, internal stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like,
do you feel like some level of success, or, like, do you feel like you're accomplishing something when you're, you know, making videos?
Yeah, because people get help. It helps people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've had people come up to me in terms and say, oh, man, like that video you helped. I got out there and won today. And,
right, using your move.
Yeah, use that move you put up. Or one guy was like, man, I wasn't going to compete. Like, up in Charlotte, one of the dudes came up to me and said, thanks, man. Like, I lost at New York, and I was not going to make it down here. But then I watched your video, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to do it anyway. And I went and signed up that night, and I came down here and took second place or something like that. Awesome. Like, that's cool. It's like, you know, and then it's helping some of the guys in the gym. Like, some of the guys here watch it. Like, some of the white belts and stuff, you know, they're watching it. Yeah, and you get to expose more people to it. Like, one of the guys that came in this morning, he just signed up a couple of days ago. And the reason he came in, because he was looking up stuff, and he saw this video of Chad getting his black belt. Yeah. And he was like, he'd been watching some of my videos. He goes, I didn't even know you were here. You know, and he's like, he didn't know he was in Louisville. He was just searching up stuff, and I have so much stuff up there that he's found. He's like, and he was watching him. He's like, man, I was getting excited. I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. Like, this guy's really building this thing up. And he started going through my videos, and he went and saw that one. He was like, oh, he's here. Like, this gym that I want to be a part of that looks so cool, they're here. And he had a great experience. He was like, he posted up a review on Facebook and said, this was amazing, man. Like, I was so nervous about coming in, but these guys greeted me with a smile. They welcomed me, and it was fantastic. So it's like, that stuff's cool, man. Like, I
do think we got lucky. You trained somewhere else before. I never did. I just got lucky walking in the door.
Yeah. You just, right
place, right time.
Well, it's the environment you got to fit into. We've got people leave, you know, obviously. People have left, they just never really fit.
A lot of people leave Jiu-Jitsu. How many people, what's the percentage you think of guys that come in?
I'm just saying we've had people leave this gym to go to other gyms, and that was for, you know...
that happens.
And everybody's different. I think the reasons are different for that, but I don't know. I don't know if they were willing to accept that camaraderie, or maybe they were...
Nobody's popping into my head, maybe, unless it was...
Well, there's some people. But I think maybe some people wanted more, you know, maybe fight... You know, MMA or whatever, maybe a gym that's more geared towards the type of training they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I mean,
which happens, you know. I mean, it's gonna. You're not gonna please everybody, and you're not gonna get along with everybody. I think everybody's gonna, you know, there's gonna be personalities that clash. Everybody's gonna want to hang out with Chris Dukes and
fuck them.
Fuck that guy. Fuck Chris, dude.
Chris, what do you want to? So the next tournament you want to do is Master World. Is that what you're thinking?
I guess if I say it out loud,
well, you're doing it.
I'm doing
right
it.
Here. It's going out to the interwebs.
You know, I gotta make up a lot of ground. You know, we competed in October, first part of October.
Yeah.
That's last time you competed, and then
I got hurt in November, but I limped around.
When was Atlanta?
That was just February.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the last time I think I competed.
Yeah. But anyway, long story short, my game's not where it was.
Well, but you also need to just be consistent and not overdo it.
You know.
That means not train 4 or 5 times a week. Maybe train like 3.
That's exactly what it is.
Nope.
No, I just got to start easing back into
I got you.
A different mindset, I guess.
Chewy. Well, I love doing podcasts with you guys.
It's fun.
And I'll tell you why. Because it's an opportunity for me to talk to you're so busy, and you're busy. We're all busy. We get to, I get opportunity to sit people down.
You used your outline so well.
And I didn't have an outline.
I feel like this thing went in 40.
It's supposed to be, like, I don't fucking care about, like Chewy's like, I have this long story I want to talk about. Yeah. And, I like that. I like it being more organic and just talking, because I don't know if we get as much time to just talk, you know, just talk and pick each other's brains. And I'd say, like, all the time, I like talking jiu-jitsu with Chewy.
One of my favorite memories of jiu-jitsu so far was our crazy drive through the night coming back from that tournament. Just bullshitting about everything.
Oh, my God, yeah.
How about that fucking hotel?
The Microtel?
Where is it? Was that in? That was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Condoms on the floor.
Oh
man,
that's awesome.
I was gonna stay there too. I was so gonna stay there.
Opaque stains on the carpet.
It's fine. I was gonna stay there. They obviously weren't surprised.
You would have woke up with an upper respiratory infection.
I would have been fine. I would have won.
You would have not been.
I would have got first place instead of second.
Yeah.
You
Victory by staff.
I'm looking at Eugene's outline. Is
I'm just writing random
Would
stuff.
you have tried PRP stem cells? If you're talking to me,
we didn't talk about.
Man,
let's just see. We're gonna do this. All right, let's. Fine. Y'all got time?
We got like 2 minutes. Let's do it.
You got 2 minutes.
I don't know. Joe Rogan does that shit. He's like, we got like 3 more minutes
left.
So we gotta wrap this shit up.
He's also high at this point.
Is there? Because I wanted to talk more about knee injuries, so we kind of touched on it, and I think everybody kind of knows Chewy's story, and I think if they follow the videos a little, they're gonna know your story too. Which you just basically were more.
Well, here's a question I have.
Okay.
I grilled my ortho about options other than removing what I had left as meniscus on both damn sides.
Right.
And so I'm under the impression, I've not read the film, but that I don't have a lot left.
Okay.
And so to the extent that stem cells are an option,
yep.
Is it an option for a guy like me? Or it seems to me
I think so.
Okay.
As far as I know,
the cells are still there, present.
Yeah. So basically, like
how do they form around nothing? I have a sense.
But you have stuff.
Okay.
There is.
Yeah, there's still something there, and they don't have a job.
Okay.
So you shoot them in there, and they're like, "What do I do?" And they're like, "Hey, like we're meniscus cells. I'll be a meniscus cell too." And then they.
So
as far as I understand,
and that's what we'll kind of get into. I know
because here's what I asked my doc. I was like,
I don't
cadaver. Is that an option?
I don't think it's as prevalent here. Okay, I don't think it's done as much here. And they say like those placental, stem cells are the ones like we talked about earlier. They're as Dr. McGee on Joe Rogan's podcast said, there's less variation to what they can become. So they're more like they can become certain type of cells. There's variation for like bad mutations and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but again, what he was talking about, it has to, the prevalence of it is not very, because somebody has to willfully, say it has to be a C-section. It has to be, a scheduled C-section, I guess, and then it has to be somebody in good health. They have to have blood work done. They have to have all this. They have to go through all these different areas, like all these different, steps to make sure that their tissue is cleared to be used as stem cells. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot, and there's companies that actually, are, the ones that harvest it and stuff. And so I don't know if it's as much of an option here because.
What did Nick have done?
I don't know. He had
PRP.
It was a PRP, which is platelet rich plasma, and they basically take your blood, and spin kind of all the nutrients out, and they inject it back in to see if it'll help promote healing. It's the prevalence. And I think they were saying that they just started the PRP, or not the PRP. The stem cells is not anything new. It's something that they've just kind of started to use more towards orthopedic type things. Because like Dr. McGee was saying, it was used more for like burns and facial or like skin to help with scarring, essentially. So I think it's the prevalence of it. I think it's not as available. So I think you have to go to certain places that are more set up. I think to
obviously insurance is not covering it, so you're.
I guess not, but man, there's a lot of questions I have. Like, do doctors even want it? Because if it maybe...
Well, that's a valid point. I'm quizzing my ortho about...
And I just don't think...
Scope, and this guy's probably putting all his kids through school.
Not necessarily.
He's a good guy.
Most doctors, I'll tell you from experience, most doctors, if they're pretty good... cutting on you is the last thing they want to do. I've been around a number of orthopedic surgeons, and for the most part, most of them are not quick to say, I want to cut on you. But the other... side of the coin is they know what works best in their opinion, what they have done and had most success with.
Right.
So they know that for your meniscus tear, they had more success with just doing a scope, cleaning it out. And I don't know if it's per se a long-term fix because it kind of starts that, like I tell people, it kind of starts that clock. Because you basically changed the mechanics of your knee, and now you're going to cause more wear and tear in other areas or other parts of the meniscus, and you can cause. No. That's the thing, but it's kind of like, well, what are your options? Again, at your age, you got to be pretty young, and it's a longer recovery for meniscus replacement or repair because you're like non-weight bearing, can't walk for a certain, and there's it depends on how.
He was pretty well versed in all of that. I mean, he said the replacement, the re-injury rate is huge because the cadavers, nobody's top of the femur. Everybody's different in that geometry, and so had poor successes with that.
People have different size knees.
Yeah,
you have different size knees, different shaped.
Angles are all different.
Yeah. I mean, it's so. I don't know, man. It's just so.
But when I asked him about the stem cells specifically, he just said the data wasn't really all that sexy, I guess.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan talks about stem cells and stuff, and I think I don't know if he is the exception. He may be the exception to where he just had significant, he just responded well to it. I don't know if everybody responds as well to, I don't know if everybody that needs shoulder surgery is going to respond that well.
My thought was the data is only as valid as how big the sample was, and if you can only get this done in small isolated areas, I don't know how big the study was.
Well, not everybody's Joe Rogan, 40-something years old, in great shape or whatever. Has an excellent diet. People have high blood pressure. People have diabetes and whatever. So everybody's going to be different in their healing rate and their body's response to any treatment. I don't know if it's like the...
Well, somebody needs to figure it out, because if you've been active at all, when you get to be my age,
right,
your fucking meniscus is going to start causing you trouble.
Right, and I think it's everybody. I mean, everybody's knees are going to be, especially doing jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's where maintenance come in. You try to protect your knees best you can.
Chewy will remind us, though, as being a history buff, we're really, we should all be...
We should be dead by now.
If we were hunting and gathering, we would be dead by now.
Your body, some people say the body's not meant to live past, back in the day when meant to live past a certain, 40 years or 50 years or shit. I don't know. So we're putting a lot more stress. People living a lot longer, doing a lot more. But technology's going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. Look at knee replacements. Look at knee surgeries, all that stuff. Knee replacements were not, before, years ago, they would freaking have to fuse your knee because they didn't, because it was so painful. They just fuse it in a either straight or slightly bent position. You can walk around like a stiff leg. But, and then they used to have to cut your whole leg open to do like an ACL or a meniscus, because they couldn't do arthroscopically. Now the tissue damage is less intense, and so you recover quicker.
Maybe if it gets really bad, you can just saw off the leg.
You can saw off the leg, and nobody can knee bar you.
And then you can just not have the knee pain, but you can walk around little
shorter leg.
Yeah, little peg legs.
Man, it just gets better and better. Every year it's going to get better and better.
And we get greedier and greedier.
Yeah. We're all going to go someday.
We all want to do more, and we all want to be able to do it at the level that we were doing it before.
We don't want to let go.
Look at TRT. TRT Vitor is a perfect example. We love that. Dude was a monster when he was on TRT. But, take that away, he turns a flabby mess without any cardio.
Of course.
Of course. It's crazy. I mean, there's options. It's going to get better. And I think that I haven't listened to the podcast as much because I really want to take some good notes on it and do my, research on it before I say anything, because I'm not as familiar with it, because it's not done as much in this area. Yeah. There's not doctors that just specialize in stem cells, and the prevalence of it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that need to be checked off the list.
I mean, it seems like they're always ahead of us.
They got Regenikine. I think there's all kinds of stuff. I think the laws or maybe the rules or regulations are a little different. Yeah. I think maybe it takes a little less to get past to human.
You don't have to grease the FDA.
That's right.
That's what I, that maybe that's why. So that's why a lot of athletes go there, And for example, Conor McGregor, they said he had an ACL tear, 80%, which is usually requires surgery.
Yeah.
He had stem cells, and he recovered as far as 100%. Well, not everybody's Conor McGregor. Everybody's 28 years old, 27 years old, in phenomenal shape. So is everybody going to respond like that? Probably not. Some things mechanically, if your tissue's torn completely, you're going to have surgery. Probably, because the tissue's not going to grow back. It's just not. The tissue's going to retract or whatever. And then, so surgery is definitely indicated for some people. It's necessary. But maybe there's a certain area where you could maybe avoid it.
Yeah.
and that's just to be seen, to be known. I don't know. I think it's going to get better, and I hope stem cells is there as one of those things that can keep us, healthier, avoid surgery. Mm-hmm. Because when you're taking out tissue that's supposed to be there, it's changing the mechanics.
Yeah,
you're changing. You're changing the way your body was made.
I did read a study as I was trying to educate myself about the procedure that says there is a higher incidence of subsequent ACL tears in guys that have had, meniscus surgery, because you are changing the spacing, I guess, the amount of dynamic movement.
Sure, your meniscus does provide that cushioning, provides that, some stability to your knee as well. But if there's more space in that joint, then that and you don't do the supplements with strengthening and building strength in that knee or the hip and all that stuff, it's going to probably cause, you're going to have more dysfunction. You're going to have more laxity in there probably because there's more space.
So you're telling us to just quit?
No, man. I thought about if I ever have an ACL injury, I was like, I'd quit jiu-jitsu.
Really?
But now, I'm in too deep. I don't think I would. I would just fucking have surgery.
I think the only thing that would make me quit at this point would be like a disc injury.
Man, everybody's got freaking disc injuries, dude. It's just how you deal with them. Everybody. Chewy, what are you doing? You flexing on me, bro?
Stretching.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, buddy.
I love talking to you guys, man. It's just we always get into conversations, stuff like when we drive back from tournaments, and it's just nice to be able to sit down. And everybody's so busy. It's nice to talk to you guys.
It is nice.
It's just great. And it's great. You always have such good.
Well, I like
feedback.
Your podcast, by the way.
Thank you guys. And check out Chewy's stuff, jiu-jitsu.net. And then Chris is my guinea pig in some of these rehab videos for his recovery.
Yeah, he's going to have a neck series.
So, how to pop people's necks.
we figured out that
I'm hurting people.
He's hurting people to create a topic base. So.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get material.
He gets a question from someone online. They're like, "How do you kill a knee?" Well, let's find out. Sorry about the heel hook,
ways, man.
I'll fix it for you.
Shit. All right, fellas. You guys are great. Greatness in one room. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the podcast. Thanks to Chewy and Chris for joining me. And check out more podcasts on thejujitsutherapist.com, on iTunes and Stitcher. And appreciate the support, guys. And also more videos on injury prevention and rehab on jujitsutherapist.com, as well as my YouTube channel, The Jiu-Jitsu Therapist. Thanks, guys, and appreciate you all supporting the podcast.